My beloved child, stop for a moment and do not scroll away, because what is reaching you now was not placed before you by accident. Something has shifted in the heart of the person connected to you, and the silence they have carried for so long is no longer strong enough to contain what they need to say. Stay here. Listen closely. There is a reason your spirit felt restless before you found these words. There is a reason your heart has been sensing that something is approaching, even though no one has explained what it is. What just happened has forced your soulmate to look at you, at themselves, and at the future in a way they have been avoiding. They need to talk to you immediately, because one unexpected moment has changed the direction of everything. You may believe that nothing is happening because you have not seen a message, heard a confession, or received the clarity you have been waiting for. But silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence is the sound of someone standing at the edge of a life-changing truth, trying to gather enough courage to speak it. Your soulmate has been standing at that edge. They have replayed conversations that never happened. They have imagined your response before even choosing their words. They have opened their heart in private and then closed it again because the depth of what they feel frightened them. But now something has occurred that they cannot dismiss, and the part of them that kept saying, "There is still time," has suddenly realized that time cannot be treated carelessly anymore. Do not skip this moment, because the first thing you need to understand is that what happened was not loud in the way the world understands loudness. There was no thunder across the sky, no dramatic announcement, no crowd watching. It happened in an ordinary setting, during a moment that should have passed without meaning. Yet that simple moment became a mirror. It showed your soulmate something they were not prepared to see. It revealed how deeply your presence has entered their life, even from a distance, even through uncertainty, even through all the things that have remained unsaid. They heard something. It may have been a sentence spoken by someone else, a question asked without knowing how deeply it would strike, or a memory brought up at the exact moment their defenses were weakest. Whatever form it took, it reached the place inside them where your name has been living quietly. And in that instant, they could no longer pretend that you were simply a passing thought. They could no longer reduce this connection to coincidence. They could no longer tell themselves that they could move forward without finally confronting the truth. The truth is not only that they miss you. Missing you is only the surface. The deeper truth is that they have begun to understand what your absence would actually mean. They have imagined a future in which you stop waiting, stop wondering, stop leaving the door open in your heart. They have seen, perhaps for the first time, that your love is not something they can assume will remain available forever. And this realization did not bring them peace. It brought urgency. Something enormous is waiting beneath this message, so remain present. Your soulmate is not only thinking about speaking to you. They are wrestling with a decision that could permanently change the relationship between you. Until now, they have tried to keep one foot in their old life and one foot in the possibility of you. They have wanted the comfort of knowing you exist while avoiding the vulnerability of fully choosing you. But what just happened made that divided position impossible to maintain. There comes a moment when the heart grows tired of being denied. There comes a moment when a person realizes that protecting themselves from love may also be protecting themselves from the life they secretly desire. Your soulmate has entered that moment. They have been confronted by the cost of hesitation. They have realized that every delay creates distance, every unspoken truth creates confusion, and every day of pretending makes it harder to return to what is real. You may have felt this change before you understood it. Perhaps your thoughts suddenly turned toward them without warning. Perhaps an old memory rose inside you with unusual clarity. Perhaps you felt emotional for no obvious reason, as though your heart had received a message before your mind could translate it. This is not proof of an event in the physical world, but within this story, it is the language of connection, the mysterious way two hearts can seem to echo one another before words arrive. Your soulmate has been asking themselves a question they never wanted to face: what if I have already waited too long? That question entered them like a light through a closed door. It showed them every moment they could have been honest but chose silence. It showed them every time they almost reached out but allowed fear to make the decision. It showed them how many times they expected you to understand what they never had the courage to explain. And now they are afraid that you have misunderstood their silence as indifference. That is one of the reasons they need to talk to you immediately. They know that what they have hidden may have created a story in your mind that does not match what has truly been happening in their heart. You may have assumed they forgot. You may have believed they chose someone else, chose comfort, chose pride, or chose a future where you no longer mattered. But the truth is more complicated. They did not stop feeling. They became overwhelmed by what their feelings demanded from them. Love, when it is real, does not simply ask to be felt. It asks to be acted upon. It asks for honesty, responsibility, courage, and change. Your soulmate understood that loving you would require them to leave behind an older version of themselves. It would require them to stop running when emotions became intense. It would require them to admit where they were wrong. It would require them to risk hearing an answer they could not control. For a long time, they wanted the connection without the transformation. But what just happened showed them that the two cannot be separated. Stay until the end, because the unexpected event did more than awaken their emotions. It also revealed something about you that they had failed to fully understand. Someone may have spoken about your character. Someone may have described the way you carried yourself through difficulty, the loyalty you showed when no one was watching, or the quiet strength behind choices others misunderstood. Your soulmate heard a detail about you that challenged the incomplete picture they had been holding. They realized that while they were questioning your feelings, you may have been protecting your heart. While they were waiting for you to make everything clear, you may have been carrying burdens they never took the time to notice. This realization humbled them. They began to review your past actions through a different lens. The moments they once called distance began to look like self-respect. The moments they called silence began to look like emotional exhaustion. The boundaries they interpreted as coldness began to look like the final protection of someone who had already given more than they received. Suddenly, they saw that you were not asking for perfection. You were asking for sincerity. You were not demanding that they know every answer. You were asking them to stop hiding behind uncertainty. That truth broke something open inside them. They now understand that you may have been waiting for one honest conversation, not a grand performance. One moment where they stop speaking in half-truths. One moment where they no longer force you to guess. One moment where they take responsibility for the emotional confusion between you. And because of what happened, they can no longer tell themselves that the conversation can wait until they feel perfectly ready. They will never feel perfectly ready. No one feels completely prepared before revealing the truth that can change their life. Courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is choosing to speak while the heart is trembling. Your soulmate is beginning to understand this. Their thoughts are moving faster now. They have imagined how they will begin. They have considered whether to send a message, make a call, appear unexpectedly, or find another way to reach you. They are trying to choose the path that will not push you further away. But there is something they are deeply afraid to ask. They are afraid to ask whether you still feel the same. This question has become the center of their urgency. The possibility that your heart has changed has made every past delay feel heavier. They have begun to understand that while they were deciding whether to speak, you were also changing. You were healing. You were becoming stronger. You were learning not to build your life around someone else's uncertainty. And now your growth has become both beautiful and frightening to them. They see something different in your energy. Even if they have not seen you directly, they sense that you are no longer willing to accept the same patterns. They know that the version of you who once waited without boundaries is fading. They know that if they return with vague words, mixed signals, or temporary emotion, you may not receive them the way you once would have. That is why this conversation cannot be ordinary. They do not want to approach you only to say they miss you. They know those words are no longer enough. Missing someone does not repair what silence damaged. Missing someone does not prove readiness. Missing someone does not create a future. Your soulmate knows they must bring something more honest, something more complete, something that explains not only how they feel but what they intend to do. And this is where the situation becomes even more powerful. The event that just occurred may have placed a choice before them. A door may have opened, a plan may have changed, or someone may have challenged them to stop living between two realities. They may have been asked a direct question about their future, and when your name rose inside their mind, they could not answer the way everyone expected. They realized that any future built without addressing you would feel incomplete. They may not have spoken your name aloud, but their silence revealed it. Someone noticed the change in their face. Someone noticed that a simple question caused them to withdraw. Someone may have asked, "Is there someone you are still thinking about?" And for the first time, your soulmate did not dismiss the question. They could not laugh it away. They could not pretend there was no one. Because your presence was too strong inside them at that moment. This does not mean every detail has already been decided. It means the emotional truth they tried to hide has become impossible to ignore. Their heart has moved ahead of their fear, and now their mind is struggling to catch up. Do not scroll away, because what they need to say includes a confession you may not expect. They have been more affected by you than they ever allowed you to see. There were nights when they tried to distract themselves, yet a memory of your voice returned. There were days when they acted completely normal while carrying an ache they could not explain. There were moments when they looked at their phone, considered contacting you, and then placed it down because they were afraid that one conversation would release everything they had kept under control. They told themselves they were protecting peace. In reality, they were protecting fear. But fear has not given them peace. It has only prolonged the distance. Now they understand that silence has become more painful than honesty. The unknown has become heavier than the risk of hearing the truth. They would rather know where they stand than continue living in an emotional space filled with possibilities but no answers. There is another layer, and it may be the most important one yet. Your soulmate has discovered that someone or something in their life was influencing the way they saw this connection. It may have been another person's opinion, an old wound, a past betrayal, or a belief that love always ends in disappointment. They thought they were making independent choices, but now they see how much their fear was being shaped by experiences that had nothing to do with you. You were being judged through the memory of someone else. Your sincerity was being measured against a betrayal you did not create. Your patience was being tested because another person once disappeared. Your love was being questioned because they had learned to expect abandonment. They were asking you to prove that you were different while never admitting how deeply the past was controlling them. What just happened exposed that pattern. Perhaps they saw someone repeat the same mistake they were making. Perhaps they witnessed a relationship end because one person refused to communicate. Perhaps they heard someone express regret over a love they lost through pride. Whatever the exact moment was, it struck them because it looked like a warning from their own possible future. They saw themselves in someone else's regret. And suddenly, the thought of losing you no longer felt abstract. They imagined discovering too late that you had built a life where they were only a memory. They imagined seeing you loved with the honesty they were too afraid to offer. They imagined having to accept that someone else recognized your value while they were still debating whether to speak. That image reached a part of them that logic could not silence. This is why their need to talk feels immediate. Yet you must understand something too, beloved. Urgency does not mean you are required to abandon your wisdom. A sudden confession does not erase every unanswered question. Deep emotion does not automatically equal lasting change. Within this fictional message, heaven is not asking you to chase, beg, or surrender your boundaries. You are being invited to listen without losing yourself. The person connected to you may arrive with emotion, but your heart deserves clarity. They may say they have changed, but your spirit will watch whether their actions carry the same truth as their words. They may tell you that the recent event opened their eyes, but you have the right to ask what they now see. You have the right to understand what they intend, what they regret, and what they are willing to do differently. You are not difficult for needing consistency. You are not unloving for protecting what healing has restored. You are not cruel for refusing to return to confusion. The love meant for you will not require you to betray yourself to receive it. Your soulmate is beginning to realize this as well. They know they cannot return expecting immediate access to the deepest parts of you. They know trust cannot be demanded just because they have finally found courage. They know they may need to answer questions that make them uncomfortable. And strangely, this awareness is part of what has convinced them that their feelings are real. They are no longer only dreaming about the beautiful parts of reconnecting. They are thinking about responsibility. They are thinking about how to acknowledge the pain created by delay. They are thinking about how to explain why they withdrew. They are thinking about the ways they may have made you feel invisible while secretly thinking about you constantly. They are thinking about how difficult it will be to admit that pride played a role. And there is one sentence they keep rehearsing. They do not know whether they will say it exactly this way, but the meaning is clear: should have told you sooner. That sentence carries more than regret. It carries the recognition that you deserved honesty before the situation became urgent. You deserved clarity before doubt grew roots. You deserved the truth when it could have prevented nights of overthinking and days of wondering whether the connection existed only in your imagination. Your soulmate understands that now. But the event that changed everything has not only made them look backward. It has made them look forward. They have begun to picture what would happen after the conversation. Not just the first emotional exchange, but the days that follow. The choices that would need to be made. The habits that would need to change. The truth that would need to be maintained even when the intensity of the moment fades. They know this cannot be another temporary return. They know you will not be satisfied by a beautiful confession followed by another disappearance. They know the next chapter must be built differently, or it should not be built at all. This is why they are frightened. The conversation may begin with words, but it will lead to decisions. And one of those decisions could change everything. Stay with me, because this is the hidden reason the timing feels so strong. Your soulmate may have received an opportunity or faced a change that affects where they will be, what they will do, or how their future will unfold. This could involve work, family, travel, a personal commitment, or a choice they did not expect to make so soon. Whatever it is, the decision cannot be made honestly without confronting what they feel for you. They may be considering stepping into a new chapter, but your unfinished story is standing at the entrance. They cannot move forward peacefully while pretending you mean nothing. They cannot choose a direction without wondering whether it leads closer to you or permanently away. The event has made the future immediate, and that has made your connection impossible to postpone. This is not about forcing a perfect romantic ending. It is about truth demanding to be acknowledged. Sometimes two people are brought to a conversation not because every answer is already known, but because neither can continue growing while avoiding what has remained unresolved. Sometimes the breakthrough is not the promise that everything will happen exactly as imagined. Sometimes the breakthrough is finally hearing the truth clearly enough to stop living inside uncertainty. Your soulmate knows that one honest conversation could heal, reveal, reconnect, or release. Any of those outcomes would be more real than the silence they have been choosing. Yet there is one possibility they are holding closer than the others. They hope the conversation will reveal that the bond is not gone. They hope there is still something alive beneath your guardedness. They hope your silence has not become final. They hope the door is not closed but simply waiting for a knock honest enough to deserve an answer. They have noticed that every time they imagine speaking to you, their fear rises, but so does relief. That relief is important. It tells them that honesty, even difficult honesty, is the direction their heart has been asking them to take. They are tired of carrying conversations that only exist in their mind. They are tired of imagining your answer. They are tired of looking for signs while refusing to become one. Now they want to do something real. But just before they reach out, another revelation is beginning to surface. This one is not about what they feel. It is about what they recently discovered regarding your feelings. Someone may have unintentionally revealed that you once spoke about them with more tenderness than they knew. They may have learned that you defended them when you could have criticized them. They may have discovered that even during your hurt, you refused to expose their private struggles. They may have realized that your love was far more loyal than the Versio.